you for spending some time with us this morning. We'll keep introductions brief because we've got a lot to cover. Introduce our team. I'm Paul Tomzak. I'm an account executive with the TM Group. We've got Janelle Kukla. She's a senior dynamics consultant with us, and she's going to be presenting the CRM demo. And then we've got Kevin Brunton, who is our new business team manager, who also acts as one of our solution architects. Like I said, it looks we've got a lot to cover, so I'm going to turn it over to Janelle, and we can jump into the demo.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll start there. Because I am using a demo environment, this Outlook that you're seeing is the web version of Outlook. Obviously, you can start with the Office 365 and then go into your Outlook functionality through here. All of this functionality is available in the Outlook desktop version, but through utilizing the Microsoft demo environments, I have to utilize the online versions. But the functionality remains the same. So once I'm in either online or desktop version of Outlook, as email messages come in, what you can do is you can basically take those messages and do multiple things within the Dynamics application right through Outlook. You don't actually have to go into the Dynamics application. You can do, most of the functionality right here if this is what your users like to use. Under your ellipses, so what you're probably seeing in the desktop version is up in your ribbon, there is a Dynamics tab. So because I'm on the online version, it's actually in the ellipses on each individual email. Little different from how you get to it, but the functionality is the same. So once I'm in an email, if I click on my Dynamics 365, now what's showing up here on the side is basically it's saying, hey, we're going to look for this recipient, which was sent from my work account into the demo environment account. And it's saying, we can't really find this particular contact in our system. It's kind of letting me know here it's an unknown recipient. So the first thing I can do is right here using this plus, I can add this to my Dynamics 365. I click on this plus, it says, do I want to add this as a contact? Do I want to add this as a lead? Or do I want to add this as an account? So again, I'm right in my Outlook. By a couple clicks, I can automatically start creating a record. So I'm going to say, okay, let's add this person as a lead. I did hear one of you guys mention going to start to build this process of your lead. Let's go ahead and start here. But again, I don't necessarily have to do a lead. I could have just went right to my contacts or an account. So what's it kind of doing is it's searching for what it can tell and populating this information accordingly. So you can see it populated my first name, my last name, and my email address. The TM Group is not a company in the systems. It doesn't know to add this. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the TM Group. And then I could also add like a topic here. I'm just going to say new project. The lead source in this case, I guess email isn't technically on here. So I'm just going to say that it was from the web. And maybe they contacted us through our website or something. Then I can also do this job title. If I'm just looking on here, I'm just going to say consultant. All right. And then I could also add a phone, so on and so forth. These fields that you see that are available to populate is a form called the Quick Create forms in CRM. Out of the box, it just basically picks up the first, last name, and email like it did, but we can utilize through like some of the workflow processes or the flow processes and bring in some other information. The way we like to utilize these Quick Create forms is we like to just basically get the basics on there to get you information into the system to start the record. So you can see it's very limited fields, name, phone numbers, contact information, stuff like that. Obviously, these are 100% configurable, so the choice would be up to you guys. I've seen in the past what works the best is the less you force them to do up front, the more they're going to use it throughout the system. But again, we want to do what's best and what's going to provide you guys the information what you need. So once those are filled out, we go ahead and you just go ahead and hit save and close here. Now that is actually creating the record in CRM. I forgot to point out before I hit save and close. Did you guys see up at the top, you can also use like a business card scanner too? That functionality is available too if it's something you have access to. Okay. So it created the lead. It's telling me that it created the lead record in the system. But if you notice up here, it also told me that it was tracked successfully. So what it did is it took this email and tracked it in CRM as one of the activities on this lead record. And I can untrack it if I want. I can change the regarding if I want, but it is tracked at the email. The email is tracked at the lead level here. From here, I can obviously respond to this email. If my system settings are set appropriately, it will continue to track the chain of this email. So as we correspond between each other, it will automatically track them until I tell it to stop. If my settings are set that way. So within CRM, there's 3 different options, technically 4, because one is don't do any automatic tracking. But you can track records from anybody already in your system, so a lead or contact already in the system. You can track records that are responded to that were sent from the Dynamics platform, or anything that's tracked, continue to track the email chain. Or it can also track everything, which we don't recommend that, but that functionality is available for ease of the user to just track every email that comes into the system. Okay. So from this platform, now that this is tracked, I can also see on the email itself that it's tracked to the Dynamics. So there's multiple places I can tell that this is tracked if my application wasn't open here on the side. But from here, I can do additional things. So under my plus sign, I can continue to do more record creation within the system. So you can see I can create more accounts, cases, competitors, contacts. Again, this list that you see here, this is out of the box, but this can be configured to the records that you want the users to be able to create from Outlook. So this is definitely changeable. I can also create some information, like look at some information, like who's the user's information, so on and so forth. What Dynamics application are we on? Okay. I can search, so I can search for records within the system. I can set filters on my searches, so I can search within certain entities, or I can just search the application as a whole. So now if I were to search for Janelle, that lead record shows up that she is in the system. But again, I left the filter open, so had there been opportunities for Janelle or cases for Janelle, all of that information would have appeared here. Okay. So also within this application, I can add additional information here for the users to easily access with one click. I'm going to go ahead and click on the dashboards here. So this dashboard that is set up is just showing me what's related to this record, her lead, or the content that was related to this record. It's telling me that there's no other data available that this email is being tracked for. Obviously, like I was saying, or if this user had opportunities and stuff, it would have also showed up here on this dashboard, as opposed to the filter where I could have searched for anybody's name. The dashboard makes it specific to the record that I'm looking at. From here, we can also go ahead and create some activities. Again, it doesn't sound like you're utilizing activities to their fullest potential, but one of the things that's great is you can now, I want to set an appointment up with this person. Or you know what, now that I have this email, I want to set up a phone call to remind myself to call them in 2 to 3 days, or maybe the next day or whatever. I can do that all from the Outlook application here. I can just go ahead and click a phone call. This is, again, bringing up that quick create form. So it might be not as detailed as the forms within the CRM application as a whole, but it would give me that basic information. So again, I'm just going to put on here that I'm calling regarding the new project, who the call is to. It's going to be to this Janelle. Okay, put her up there. Where's my little save button? And then I could add a description on what I wanted to talk to them about, put her phone number in here. I can give this a due date. So I'm going to call on Tuesday of next week. I can make it a high priority. And why I'm filling this out is what will happen when we start utilizing our dashboards in the CRM application. These types of activities show up on our dashboards, and that's a great way to start my day, is at my dashboard. I can see what activities I have for that day, that week, that month. I can see what account or open opportunities, open leads that I have on those dashboards, and we'll take a look at that once we get to the application. but the records can be created right here in the Outlook as I'm going through my emails in the morning. The integration between Outlook and CRM is obviously available as the email tracking and the record creation. You also have the ability to track stuff to your to-do lists and your calendars, if those are functionalities that you use. Appointments will appear in your Outlook calendar. Phone calls and tasks appear in the Outlook to-do list. So again, depending on what type functionality in Outlook you like, I do have one client that only utilizes the calendar. So they turned all of their appointments into specific type of appointments. So they have a task appointment, they have a phone call appointment, they have a face-to-face appointment, team meetings appointments. So within that appointment record, they were able to add, hey, what type of appointment this is, but now everything is on the person's calendar, as opposed to trying to utilize both a calendar and a to-do list. But we also have clients that love the tasks and the to-do list, so they utilize that part of the functionality. Again, whatever the user preferences are, is we could accommodate both. Okay. So as you notice, I have a couple tabs up here across the top. This is just to keep me kind of flowing through the process to hopefully not miss anything. But everything you can get to is in the left-hand side navigation. One of the things before we jump into that, I want to point out, if you notice up here, you see a thing called Sales Hub. I'm just going to click on this. The licensing is by application now. So depending on the licensing you would choose, so you guys are more of a sales model, you're going to get the Sales Hub, which is why I'm showing you the demo in the Sales Hub. But you can see there's now customer service hubs. There's the Dynamics 365 Custom, which would incorporate everything, kind of lead people, unless you're a system admin making changes from a technical standpoint, not really to utilize this. You can also create a hub that's specific to your department or group of people. These can be created, as you can see, I can create a new app or a new hub and only put the entities that your team is using in there. So again, a lot of configuration can be done to accommodate the users, so they're only seeing what they need to see, and then obviously limit their clicks and stuff. So much more user friendly than probably what you're utilizing now. So I'm just going to close that, but I just wanted to kind of show you what they see there is obviously the licenses they have available to them, and then also through security roles. So if you created a hub for, let's say, the marketing team that was more focused on marketing stuff, but it wasn't really anything maybe your management team needed to, have access to, not that they wouldn't have access to the entities, but not the hub, we could limit that, who sees that based on their security roles too. So that list of different hubs or apps can be limited to see what you want the users to see. You're probably used to seeing the views as you click on this list of stuff. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on here unless anybody has any questions, because it's probably something you're already utilize or used to seeing and know how to work with and function, because that functionality hasn't changed at all. Once we get into the leads, what I wanted to point out is this lead here that Janelle Kukla, I named it new project, or the topic was new project. It did show up in here. I just wanted to point that out, that what I did in Outlook and what I said was going to happen did happen. So as we click on this lead, you also see that the email that was sent is tracked in here too. As mentioned, utilizing that Outlook functionality makes it a much faster process for the users, especially if your users are doing a copy paste functionality. I just hit that track button, I created the record, and boom, it's in here. If I didn't need to create the record, I also could have searched for an existing record, and again, just click the track button and it shows up right in here too. The phone call record I also created is also showing up here on the lead. So again, two things I did very quickly through the Outlook functionality is showing up within the system, and it's starting to track those activities of the users, which is great from a reporting perspective. Process bar, obviously you guys understand the concept that each of these is a stage or a gate, but we like to limit what you're seeing within each stage or gate to really be that relevant information to get you to the next step, not necessarily everything you need from a reporting standpoint or everything you would like, but more, hey, what's really getting us to the next step of this sales process? The way this works is these, I guess, or I'm going to call them fields or data points, Can be multiple things. They could be something as simple as an option list. And again, I'm picking, purchase time frame. If that was something that was relevant, you need to know when they're going to be purchasing it. Can also be lookups to other records. So again, sometimes leads might be a new contact, but the account is somebody you've already working with. So that information you'd look up to your system to find if it's already in existence. And then it can also be something like this one. Did you identify who the decision maker was? You just mark that complete. Or we could have said, hey, you know what? I want you to put the person's name in here. I want you to either type it in or select from your contacts who it is. It can be interactive from a perspective of I'm documenting the actual data, or it can be interactive to say, yep, I completed that. So I think it's a matter of, do you want that specific information in your system, the decision maker's name, or do you want to know that we've just identified who the decision maker is? So either way, we can put that information in your system. The other thing is this process bar can be interactive with the data on the form. As you complete things like make that initial phone call, you could have a field up here that says initial contact made. Once the phone call is documented and completed, this piece can be marked off as yes automatically.
You can also make certain fields required before you can advance it to the next stage. It won't let them advance to develop until all the qualify required steps have been taken. We use that heavily in our opportunities.
Is that Kevin leading me into my next step?
Yep.
So that's exactly where I was going next. If you notice, and I do apologize, let me increase the size here. I forget to do this before the start of the demo, so I'm apologizing for the size of my font. But within the stages, you can see there's one here, this existing account, it's got a blue plus. But if you look at the fields themselves in the record, you see some are red asterisk and some are blue plus. This functionality has not changed. It's probably something you're used to seeing in the 2016 version. Blue plus means it's recommended, but it lets you move forward. Red asterisk means it's required. You can't do anything until this is filled out. Same functionality as on the form applies to the process bar. You cannot go to the next stage until the reds are populated. You can move to the next stage if it's just a blue. And that's, like Kevin said, that's great functionality to make sure the users are documenting the information that you need for both the process and for reporting purposes in the future. These stages is how the sales pipeline, if that's a dashboard report that you guys like to use, that's what the pipeline is based on, is whatever stages. And again, you're not limited to 4. These are the 4 that are out of the box. And what's also great is you can also have branching in your process bar. So if you have different types of sales where maybe one way, one type of sale, you do this process, another way at the develop stage, you might branch a little bit differently. Based on the type of sale, you could have your process bar change accordingly to however it needs to branch. The other stuff on the lead, and again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on the fields because I think you guys used in 2016, understand that everything you see is configurable. We can take stuff off, we can move it around. The couple things I do want to point out is 2016 went back to the scroll bar. So now they're back to tabs, kind of makes it nicer from a user that they're not having to scroll down the form a bunch, all the way down. We can just click on the tabs and fill out the information we need. With the online version, it does have a direct relationship or an integration with the SharePoint. Obviously, for the demo environment, it's not turned on or not enabled at this point, but it obviously can be, so that functionality is available. I don't know if we necessarily need to, copy those emails and stuff anymore. Maybe the documents within the emails, depending on the size. I'm not sure if size is going to become an issue for you guys. That might be a place where we can store the documents within SharePoint, but then have the accessibility through CRM to access them. Is usually how it's the functionality is used. I was going to make this assumption, but I think I'll point it out real quickly. When you qualify the lead, it automatically creates the 3 records for you, the account record, the contact record, and the opportunity record. It just does it automatically. See that it created this. It also brought over all of my timeline information. So all of those activities that were on the lead get moved over to my opportunity now. And it opened up my opportunity record. So that functionality, if you utilized leads, was in your version. but if you it didn't really sound like maybe you were utilizing them that much, so I just wanted to point that out, that it brings everything over automatically and creates these 3 records. You can see now that the contact was also created because this is a blue underlined hyperlink to the contact record within CRM. And as I hover over it, you see some details. Same thing with the account. It created the account record within CRM. So now I have all 3 records within my system from qualifying that lead. If I were to have disqualified the lead, this functionality is the same in 2016 too. You get a drop-down list on why it's disqualified. That drop-down list is 100% configurable. You just tell us what you want it to say, and then that's available for reporting purposes for you and why a lead might have been lost. Okay. You can see that on the process bar, the qualified is now checked off, and we're in the develop stage. And I do want to point out, if I were to try to qualify that lead and there was something in my qualify process bar that was not populated, that was required, I would have received an error message. Fortunately or unfortunately, this didn't have anything. It only had a blue, so it did let me move forward. But you notice it populated that these are now an existing contact and an existing account because it got created during that qualify process. It already put it in there for us. So just from a visual standpoint, a user can look at this and say, oh, okay, they're in my system now. And then it moved us over to the develop stage. If you also notice, it's tracking the amount of time it's in each stage. So as I go back to qualify here, it'll tell me, actually, I guess it doesn't show up here, but you can report on how much time it's spending in each stage. So that's a great reporting feature. You can also see how lead to opportunity has been open. Now in our example, it's only been open for 28 minutes, but you could see like, hey, this lead was open for now a week and nobody's following up on it. Why? What's going on? Again, some great visual standpoints to that perspective. And if you also notice, when I jumped back to qualify, because during the qualified stage, my record was a lead, I'm back to the lead record in the system. I'm not looking at the opportunity, I'm looking at the lead now. And it's also letting me know that this record was read-only because it's been qualified. So if I ever needed to do that, I could also reactivate the lead. Again, functionality that's currently available. Can't get to it as easy in your version as you can in this one, but reactivate possibilities are there. If I jump back to the develop stage, it again takes me back to the opportunity because that's what, in this stage, that's what type of record I'm working with. Again, not going to spend a lot of time on the form itself because they're very similar to what you're utilizing. A couple of things at the opportunity level, you can enter in some utilizing text field, what's their current situation, what's the customer needs, and the proposed solution. So a lot of users will use this if they're quoting outside the system. So if they're quoting within their ERP system, or if they're quoting in another third-party application, this way they're just kind of documenting, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at, big picture. We've also utilized things where we might put in like, once the quote's established in that other system, maybe just put a dollar value in here so we can say, okay, here's kind of what the quote value is looking for. So things like that we can do. But what's nice with this is it now allows you to add your products to the opportunity, and then I can take this opportunity and turn it into the quote. You also notice right here, I could just start creating a new quote. So the quoting functionality is available within CRM. I don't know what you guys are quoting, if you're building stuff on the fly and quoting it. So you have a lot of little pieces you're quoting. Are we quoting just bigger projects as like total dollars? So again, kind of depending on what your specific needs are, this functionality might work, it might not. Or let me rephrase that. It might be easier, it might be just as complicated as what you're doing. But what the product listing does, and I'm going to start this at the opportunity level for you, but you can go ahead and you can have multiple price lists in the system. So as you can see, you're not limited to one price list within the system. There's multiple ones available here that have already been pre-set up. I'm just going to go ahead and pick the retail one just because I know that there's products in that one from a demo perspective. But again, I just select what retail I want. The revenue, I can either provide it, so I can say, hey, again, taking that number from somewhere else, or I can let the system calculate it based on the pricing I put in the system, pricing, cost, so on and so forth. Once I select that, I can go ahead and add the product. I can do existing products, or we can do write-in products. So write-in products are where you just enter a name, you select how the quantity, and you put the price in there. Existing products are obviously stuff that's already within your system where that information has been entered ahead of time. So both are available. Okay. And I'm just going to pick one of these at random. Okay. So I picked this armband. This must have not have had a price associated with it. So if you notice, my override price moved over and it's letting me override it because there wasn't a price already associated with this particular product in the system. Had there been a price, it would have been using the default price and that price would have filled in. You also notice that once it says to use the default, this field is locked, so it doesn't allow the user to make any adjustments to it. This field, pricing override or not, can be limited to particular users to allow them to change this. So we can use what's called field level security and only allow certain users to have access if that's something that's needed within your system. Now, it also allows for discounting, but again, you could use the different price lists. You mentioned government, some other things. So each one of those could be an individual price list, or you could utilize the discount functionality too. Again, whatever would work most appropriate for your organization is how we would set it up. So if you weren't utilizing discounts, obviously we would take the field off. You wouldn't utilize tax, we would take that field off the form so the users wouldn't even see it. So from here, then I would hit save and close. I'm just going to cancel out of this and open an opportunity that's got some already on it. So here's the one I was working with before. So if I jump into products here, you can see a bunch of products that they have chosen that, again, obviously these are kind of a printer type base scenario, but these would be those professional services and stuff, hosting stuff that you guys would bring. But once the products are all listed here, and again, they applied a discount. So you can have a discount per the line, or you can have a discount available at the total sale. It could be a percentage or a dollar value discount. And again, if it's down here on the form, it's for the entire sale versus up here as a per line discount. Both are available, or both can be removed if that's not something you guys utilize. Okay. Once these are all in here, what you can do from here, and I already did it, but you would click on your quotes. So again, there I'm just adding the products to the opportunity, and then I can take that and by just clicking new quote, it would create a whole new quote with all of those products on it, which I already did. So I'm just going to open this. So all of those same products just moved to my quote record. But let's say they decided they don't want to use this, whatever this backup thing is. All I got to do is click on it and then I can delete it. If you notice up here at the top, I can edit it. So I can change the quantity. I can change the pricing if that is applicable, or I can click on here and I can just delete this line if the users, if I decide, hey, they didn't, they decide they don't want that, or we're not quoting that piece anymore. So again, by adding stuff to the opportunity, I can quickly turn that opportunity into a quote, or I didn't have to add my products at the quantity or the opportunity level. I could have just created a new quote and added my products right here, because you can see on the quote, I can continue to add more products. So again, that's going to be one of those things where you guys need to decide from a functionality process, how do you guys want to function? I have clients that do both. They feel they're already on the opportunity as they're talking and working through their communications with their clients. Let's just start adding them here, and then we turn them into the quote as the last step. As you can see, easily you can turn it into a PDF. We can also utilize the templates within CRM and export this to Excel. I think if 2016, they were still using mail merge for printable documents, if I remember correctly. The functionality now is utilizing what they're calling templates. They're much more interactive. So you create the template in either Excel or Word, but you access them through the CR or the Dynamics application. It's probably don't have any of them. Maybe. I think if the out of the box would have had any. Oh, so they do have a quote summary, print quote for customer. So they chose to do it in Word, but it can also be done in Excel. So this is just an out of the box one. So keep that in mind. It's got probably no pretty logos or anything like that. So this is kind of the out of the box one that showed up. Obviously, just like anything else, you enable it for editing. That's a security that I have set up. But this layout would be determined by you guys, and we would set that up using the templates. But that's how easy it is. Again, this was Word. Excel is also available if you prefer the Excel functionality. So if we kind of click over to dashboards. So these are just obviously the out of the box ones. So some of these are probably similar to what you're seeing. Because I'm in the sales hub, the dashboards that are available to me are the sales dashboards. If I start going into that custom hub, you would see some of the other marketing ones, customer service ones, and things like that. Assuming you guys are aware that all of these dashboards, this is what I was talking about from when we were in the Outlook, how as those tasks and phone calls and emails tracking gets created, I can now easily access them through my dashboard, which is where we have a lot of people start within CRM themselves. So again, making a dashboard that's very relevant to each user, their activities, their opportunities, their leads, and then versus a management type dashboard where it's more the company as a whole. Like what is the company doing from a sales pipeline and things like that. Again, probably something you're used to seeing. I guess I can't get to the stuff I'm looking for here. Let me go to the other hub. Power BI and CRM do have a direct data link connection. You can utilize the desktop version of Power BI, but you could also do the web version of Power BI. You can also embed Power BI dashboards into CRM. Because Power BI has better graphics, better functionality, or I shouldn't say better, more advanced, those can then be embedded back into CRM. You could also take 2 data points in Power BI, so I can utilize both the CRM data and whatever maybe your ERP system is or another third party, create that report of the data intertwined in Power BI and then embed that in CRM. So I can utilize the functionality to view data from another data source, which is what a lot of our clients do. They don't necessarily just take the CRM data, do a Power BI report and embed it, but they combine 2 systems or multiple systems in Power BI and then embed that data in CRM. Depending on what software that information is being held in, you could also utilize Microsoft Flow to create those phone call activities automatically. It'd be great to see the dashboard of, yeah, these are the list of people that are coming due the next month. But oh, by the way, I already have all of my calls created because Flow did that automatically for me and set up my phone call activity. So now I just have to go into that phone call activity and put an update like, yep, I called them. This is what they said. They're interested. Or I can create the new opportunity because I am upselling them. So you can utilize Microsoft Flow within multiple applications like that too. I unfortunately don't have any Power BI reports embedded in here. I don't even know that I have it set up. Yeah, I don't even have it set up to do that because it is a demo environment. Functionality, you basically, where it says new here and it's asking you to select a Dynamics 365 dashboard, it would also give you the ability to select a Power BI dashboard. And then you would click on it and select which ones were available to you. And again, that's all based on, security rights within the 2 systems. That is one thing. If you want to see Power BI dashboards within CRM, you do have to have the Power BI license to have that visual available to you. Otherwise, it just looks like a blank screen. All right, so the only other thing I wanted to point out, the marketing functionality is exactly the same. You got the marketing list, the quick campaigns. Because I'm in the sales, the campaigns isn't showing up here, but it is available. But that functionality isn't the same, and click dimensions still, I'm going to use the word integrates, even though that's probably not the right word, interacts with CRM just like it does. It actually probably has a little bit more functionality that you can utilize in the online version as opposed to the on-prem version. Because they've created a whole new Dynamics 365 for marketing, the marketing list and campaigns have not been, the functionality hasn't changed any. Well, if there's no other questions for me, I'm going to hand it back over to Paul.
Thanks, Janelle. I hope that gave you a good overview of the online version. I know that you and I have talked about doing an IPS or an implementation planning study, which would involve the folks that are on this call today. If there's any questions in terms of what's involved in that, we can set up another time to run through that. Part of the process in the implementation planning study, as Janelle will agree, is that as we get to understand your business on a deeper level and what you're trying to achieve with CRM, we can also make suggestions for best practice. We have a lot of CRM clients that are using this tool at the moment. So that's part of our process, is to consult with you so that you're getting the most out of the system. So that would be part of the process as well. Like I said, if anything else comes up that you have questions on, feel free to shoot those over to me.